Welcome to Conversations with Sarah. Today I'm joined by Zoe Morris from Mummies Feel Good Club to have a conversation about her experience of postnatal depression. Welcome, Zoe. Thank you for joining me.
Hi, Sarah. Thank you for having me. It's lovely to be here.
Thank you. So I don't know if you wanted to just introduce yourself a little bit, give people an idea of who you are, what it is that you do.
Yeah, so I've been a NCT parent support volunteer for 4 years now, and recently I brought that into my business, and I've been supporting mums through their stresses and anxieties, any feelings that they're feeling. Since after I struggled with postnatal depression, I then wanted to give that extra support to mums so that they could cope with things a little bit better than I managed to, and give them more tools to just deal with daily stress, because whether you've struggled with postnatal or not, being a parent's tough. Yeah. So just having that extra support there is hopefully going to help some mums to be able to enjoy being a parent more.
Thank you. So like you're going to share a bit of your own personal story, so thank you for coming on and sharing that with us. And I guess where would you like to start?
It started when I fell pregnant, actually, with my second child. My first child I had no problems with whatsoever, and then when the second one came, it was a bit of a shock to my system, and I thought at first it was a nursing aversion, because I was still nursing my first child. And I'd heard of nursing aversions, and that it can cause these extra feelings, wanting your child to be a little bit further away from you and stop the nursing. So at first I thought it was that, but once we stopped nursing, it still continued. These feelings of wanting to push my child away still continued. So initially I didn't think much of it, and I just carried on, and I tried my best to continue being the mum I wanted to be. But even after she was born, not yet, darling. Even after she was born, it didn't stop. So I had to then go and see my health visitor. And she did a brief assessment. This wasn't until my second was 2. So when she did this brief assessment on me, after I felt like I couldn't cope anymore, something was definitely wrong, and I probably sugarcoated it. I'm terrible for sugarcoating everything that I do and say, because I don't want to take things off someone else who needs it. She said I wasn't suitable for a referral. I wasn't quite at that point that I could then be referred for extra help. Now I get that's completely my own fault for sugarcoating things, but at that point, when I'm still feeling as terrible as I am, that I'm pushing my own child away from me, it made me feel worse, because then you start doubting yourself, and you start worrying, well, what do I do now? And is there something else wrong with me? What could this be? Am I just a horrible person? His motherhood just turned me into a horrible person.
It's so normal to underplay what you're experiencing when you're experiencing mental health issues, especially when it relates to being a parent. Because I mean, I don't know, because this is you telling your story for the first time, but I know for me as a parent, that fear was, if I say I'm not okay, is someone going to take my children away from me? Am I going to get support, or am I going to get judged? So I don't know if that was part of what went on for you. So it feels like, you told them what you felt comfortable telling them, and then being told, it's not enough. That must have been really difficult. Really difficult.
It is. Yeah, and no matter what the feelings come up for you, everyone experiences them differently. So like you say, some people feel that they're worried that the children are going to get taken away from them. Other people worry that if they tell the full story, then perhaps they're going to end up taking a something away, a resource away from somebody else who needs it more than you. And that's mainly where my worry came from, was that someone else might need this more than me. Am I really that bad? But then when you get told that you don't need the extra help,
it reinforces that.
It then reinforces, oh my God, well, maybe I'm just a bad person. Maybe I've just become this horrible human being. Because when you start feeling like you don't want your own child near you and you're shouting at them constantly, and then come the evening time, once they're in bed, you then sit there in guilt. Oh my God, what have I done to my child? Shouting at her all day. What did she do? Nothing. Not really. I mean, of course, she was a toddler. She was going to do little bits of things that were mildly irritating, but none which required the response that I gave. So then you sit in this guilt for the whole night, thinking, I'm going to ruin my child here.
So what changed then? How did you sort of get that support that you needed?
It came when I was reassessing my own career path, and I came across the company I'm with now, and they had people who had also struggled with other mental health difficulties, whether it was depression, OCD. All these people had come back saying that after utilizing some of the supplements, they felt more in control again. They didn't feel like the same heightened emotions anymore. They felt like they had things under control. Some of them had actually even lowered their medication. So when you feel like you've got absolutely no other option, I thought, well, what harm am I going to have? What's the worst that's going to happen by trying a supplement that's meant to help you heal? So I gave it a try, and at that point I then started to feel more like myself. It took time, and it took me more effort to rebuild my relationship with my first child, but slowly it started to come back, and my emotions flowed. I became more in control of myself. I didn't have this overwhelming feeling constantly of wanting her away from me, and that was amazing, to feel like I wanted my child near me again. That was a big thing for me, because not wanting your child, who doesn't want their child near them, who wants to push their own child away? And to me, that was awful, feeling that. So knowing that then I wanted her near me again was incredible.
I guess because that signified that something was changing, and it was that shift that you were looking for. Did you get any support from, like, through the GP or any of that stuff in the end? Did that happen for you?
It didn't. I never went back, partly probably because, again, I'd already been told I'm not eligible for help. So then it seemed silly to me to go back and ask again. But at the same time, now looking at it from my perspective, I would definitely urge mums to, if you think that perhaps you've said something not quite accurately, to go back and insist on help, or ask for a second opinion. But at the time, my head was telling me, don't do it. It's not worth it. You're just going to be wasting their time, and it's not going to get you anywhere. Especially because at the time we were during the pandemic, so doctors weren't really accepting visitors accepting patients unless absolutely necessary. So then that put in as well is it really necessary that I go?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it all sort of fed into that feeling that you had of there's other people that have got it worse off, and I would echo what you're saying. It's when you are experiencing something, you are the most important person in that, and you are those services are there to support people. The fact that there is waiting lists doesn't mean that you don't need that support. It just means there's other people needing that support too. And I think one of my perspectives is, you know, that our NHS is a wonderful service, but it is greatly underfunded, and it is it's, I guess, oversubscribed for a lot of services, and people do fall through the cracks. I know I've been there in a different situation. I needed support and I couldn't access that support. That's one of the things that has brought me to do the work that I do. So I think it's so hard, isn't it, to take that first step and go and say, I need help, to then be told, yeah, but you don't really need help. So what the point I'm trying to make is, if you go and ask for help and you get told, no, you don't need it, you know you need it, keep asking. Definitely. Because they have a duty to listen to you, and if they're not listening like you've done, look at other ways to get that support in and help yourself. Because if you're recognizing that you need help and support, you need help and support no matter what anyone else is telling you. You know that you need it. So I think it's really valuable, people like yourself coming on and sharing stories of not necessarily getting the help that you needed when you needed it, but the ways you've found to support yourself to move through what you needed at that time. So thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Like you say, with the supports though, the support can be from so many different angles, can't it? You've got the GP support, your health visitor and things like that, but also don't forget the power of family and friends and other support networks, parent support groups. So utilize them as well. They're all there for you to be able to talk through what you're feeling, and sometimes just hearing like other people saying that they're in a similar position can help you kind of realize that you're not alone, and it is okay to ask for help, and just don't isolate yourself. There is help out there from multitudes of channels.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, like, my children are older, but I remember when they were little, when you first have a baby, there's so much going on, there's so much change, there's so much expectation on yourself and the mother that you want to be, and then there's the reality of life and what's going on. And I think it is one of those taboo subjects, isn't it? Because there's this whole like idea of being this, or for me there was this whole idea of being this perfect mother, and how I wanted to nurture my children and how I wanted the relationship to be. And if it's not exactly how you imagine in your head it's going to be, it can feel difficult to kind of talk about it and say, oh, like, I feel a bit rubbish about what's going on. And I'm further down the road. Like I say, my children are grown, so I reflect on what I've learned as they've grown about myself, about parenting and all of those things, and I look back now and I think I would have done so many things so differently. But you can only do that retrospectively, can't you? So if you are in a space where things at the time don't feel great, connecting with other mums, with other parents, you will probably be surprised how many other people are going through that as well, but are trying to be that perfect parent. And it just takes one person, doesn't it, to go, this isn't quite how I thought it was going to be, for everybody else to start going, yeah, same.
Definitely. And that's exactly the thing though, you expect to be this perfect parent, and there's a societal pressure to be that perfect parent and for nothing to go wrong. I mean, even before you have children, you look at other mums and we instantly judge. So many people instantly judge and say, oh, well, I'll never let my child do that, and I'll never do this, and I'll never do that. And then obviously it comes to having a child and you kind of go, oh, yeah, I did do that.
Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah.
But
and it wasn't the end of the world either.
No, exactly. And on top of that, I mean, there's an old phrase, isn't there, that if it takes a village to raise a child.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's so true. In the past, we did raise children in a village.
Yeah.
Everyone bundled together to raise a family. And they'd run round to the friends' houses, they'd run round to their aunties' houses, and because everyone was so close, and it could be utilised that way. And now, because society has ended up meaning that we've all further apart from each other, and then we're put this pressure on us being a single family home and things like that, it then adds more pressure to it. And it just makes it even harder for us. Because then we feel like we can't ask for help, and when actually we would have always had help. We would have always had parents, aunties, uncles, siblings there to share childcare with. Whereas now you feel like, oh God, if I ask my parents to look after the children for another day, you know, like that's too much pressure for them, it's too much of a burden and things like that, where actually we need that. We do need that.
Yeah, I agree. It's that community, it's community, isn't it? It's that finding your tribe and connecting with other people that can, you know, it's community support. So has that been something that's helped you through your journey, that you've been able to find, that you've been able to connect with and help you with your mental health, do you think?
Yeah, definitely. Community and having people around me has definitely helped. With my first child, I wanted to do everything myself, and I had that perfect parent thing in my head that I needed to do everything and it was all on me. And thankfully I could do that. With my second though, I couldn't. And but I was lucky enough to have people around me that were able to help. Even if it was taking the eldest out for a while, the first child, it was taking her out so that I could have a bit of time for me and the new baby. That alone helped. It doesn't have to be taking the new baby away. It can, however it fits for you. But yeah, having a support network is very important, and that's where my NCT volunteering position comes in handy as well, because so many mums groups, they're not actually aimed at the mums, they're aimed at the child. So you have the baby massage, you have the baby bumps, you have baby sensory, and all these different classes that are aimed at the child, which is brilliant. But then the mum gets forgotten. Or the parents do. Anyway. And
it almost reinforces a little bit, doesn't it? Like, as you're talking about it, this is what I'm thinking. It does almost reinforce that your whole identity becomes baby. Everything about your entire social life becomes like baby massage, baby this, baby that, baby the other. And it's so important to remember you as a human first, I think, in any kind of trying to keep well, like remembering who you are first, and that holding on to your identity as it changes and shifts. Like, obviously it's so important that yes, baby, child needs to be a very, very like high on your priority list focus, but so do you. It can't all
definitely
can't all be. I know what I'm trying to say. I don't feel like I'm doing it very eloquently. You know, your children are a priority, absolutely, but it is remembering that you are a person too, and that you have needs, and that your needs are important, and neglecting yourself doesn't help anyone at all.
No,
it is the perspective that I come from. Like, by looking, and it's one of the things I think, again, that I've learned from reflecting on my time as a parent. We model all these things for our children. So if we model self-care, we're saying to our children, hey, this is a really important thing for you to do as you get older, and it helps them learn, doesn't? I think it helps them learn how to look after themselves. So what other things did you put into place to help you?
I don't think I really had anything else. I think it was the community. And boosting my nutrition with a direct focus on things that help brain function. So having those micronutrients that help your brain to fire properly is really important, especially at the minute. We're so taken in by convenience and easy and quick grab foods and things like that, to be able to have that extra boost made a big difference.
And I'm noticing that actually this is a common thread that's coming up in a lot of the episodes. A lot of the conversations that I'm having is about like vitamin deficiency and how that's affecting people through like mental health issues, physical health issues. So that's really quite interesting for me, that noticing that thread coming through everywhere and the way that it is impacting people and their lives. So it sounds like community's been the biggest thing that's been a support for you. Would you agree?
Definitely. Yeah, community definitely makes a big difference. Being able to have people around you that have had the same experience can just help you feel like you're not a horrible human being, like I felt like I was. And that it is normal to have ups and downs, and hopefully we can get that message to more people.
Yeah, and I think as well, it's community doesn't necessarily mean it has to be in person. There is a whole world of internet support out there, isn't there? And there are communities that you've listed already that you can connect with virtually. There's spaces, especially that's one of the blessings I think of all the lockdowns, is that other services, other spaces have opened up on the internet that you can connect with people. And then hopefully as the world is becoming a little bit more open, you can take those into in-person spaces as well. So this feels like a good place to stop. Is that okay with you? Do you feel like you've said everything that you wanted to say? Is there anything else that you would like to put out there?
No, thank you. We're all good.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on and sharing sort of your experience and what has helped you and what's not been so helpful for you as well, because that's just as important for people to hear, the things that didn't go the way that would have been helpful for you, as well as being able to turn it around in the way that you needed to. So thank you for coming along and speaking with me.
No, thank you very much for having me, Sarah. It's been lovely to talk to you.
Thank you. And thank you for everyone listening. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. To connect, find out more about me and my guest, follow at SRTT Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. And I'll be back next Wednesday with a new guest. Until then, stay curious and be kind to yourself.